Hello there! So, yes, seriously, we're doing this. It may sound like a joke of a topic, it may be a joke of a topic, yet even so, anime has shaped how mapping and the mapping ecosystem works on Osu in more ways than you might expect. Osu is directly inspired by a Japanese game, so people who were initially drawn to it have had an interest in anime and have been ranking maps of anime songs since day one. Now, more than a decade later, nearly every map you can find has an anime background, non-anime songs included. Anime maps are popular to the point of making up the top played maps at all times, and anime openings have even won the Best of the Year / Community Choice Awards. That's all the obvious stuff, what you probably knew before coming here. There's more to anime's impact on mapping than what's plainly apparent though, and who's better to help explain it than Doormat. He's a mapper who's created maps almost exclusively for anime-related music to the point of being known for it more than your average map creator. So we started our conversation with talk about seasonal anime and its effects on the mapping community.
It's really hard to say what effect that each new anime season will have because every different season will have different things to watch. But from what I've noticed in my time as a mapper, there's usually an increase in mapping activity for songs around the start of the season, so January, April, July, and October. With so many different songs and so many different mappers, there's certainly going to be some songs that will receive more or less attention than other songs, and the songs that are featured in a show that have a lot of hype behind them. So for example, with the latest season, SAO Alicization, these songs generate more attention within the mapping community, so you generally see a lot of competition between mappers to see who can rank the first set of this song. These are what people refer to as speed rank wars.
I think it's plain enough to see that popular anime songs in Osu are tied to popular anime, like Attack on Titan or Sword Art Online openings. Plus, Osu players have a pretty notable interest in cute shows like New Game or Gochiusa, songs from both shows making up a lot of Doormat's ranked maps. The source material's popularity isn't all that leads to a popular map though. The most popular anime maps of a season are also reliant on song choice, map design, and even the semi-competitive map ranking system.
I think one of the more contributing factors to which songs get the most attention have to do with their rhythm density and their intensity. For example, a popular series may have a slower paced song, and that will generate attention for the first few days, but eventually the attention will start to wane because it doesn't really appeal to the casual player base. Inversely though, I think that songs that are too fast paced, so for example, songs that are very alternator heavy or very stream heavy, can also be daunting for more casual players. I think Hitori Goto managed to receive such a high play count for so long because of the two factors that I mentioned earlier. The song itself is rhythmically simple, being composed of mainly 1-2 beats at a moderately paced BPM. So it's not too daunting for beginners that may be worried about songs that are too rhythmically dense, and it's not too straining for the more experienced players, so it allows it to be played with a bunch of different mods, be it hard rock or double time. The layman's term for this would be it's farmable. To a lesser extent, though, I think that being the first ranked set for Hitori Goto helps with the high play counts. Because of the current rules, only one set of the same song can be qualified, so having a full week of the attention being focused towards that one set really helps in some cases.
From the Beatmap Nominator Rules, do not qualify map sets whose song already has a qualified map set. This is the rule Doormat just referred to, whose purpose is to make sure songs are ranked in a spread out manner. It takes about a week for a map to pass through qualified, so if two people want to rank maps of the same song, they'd be separated by about 7 days. Makes sense, right? It can feel kinda lame if you're looking for a new map, so you go to the ranked map section and you see the same thing back to back to back. That scenario is exactly why this rule was made. But Tomb, an anime, had started airing on TV in October 2012 with a banger of an opening, leading to lots of people inspired to map it. A month later, some of those maps were complete and 3 were ranked on the same day, with the same background, which exposed how bad it is for the game to not have any restrictions on this stuff, ultimately ending with the rule we have now. And it's a good thing this rule was made too, since if not at that time, it would have definitely been considered when the Kantai Collection anime aired. The opening for the anime, Miro, is what I think of as the most popular anime song in Osu, because of how many maps of it were made at once. There was a new version ranked for like 8 consecutive weeks. The maps themselves are hugely popular because of the song/map design factors Doormat talked about, and, the preview point is a meme. So this rule, created in part because of anime, does have benefits for the game, though it did bring some weird side effects. The creation of this rule and so many people mapping the same song at once has led to a bit of competition when it comes to ranking maps of popular new anime openings. With only one being qualified at a time, there's a rush for everyone to get their maps ranked first, especially when being first usually means your map gets the most recognition. Doormat was successfully able to do this with the current season's Sword Art Online opening, so I asked him how he made it happen.
I actually planned to do something as soon as the third season was announced back in October of last year. I discussed with Monstrata as early as January of this year. Then August 2018 came around and the first song details began to come out, so we revived the idea. And around this time, Kibblewoo joined as our third member of our triple set idea. I asked a few nominators about a month in advance if they were available to look at the map when it was ready, and then we spent our entire day mapping the opening when Alicization aired on TV. With speed ranking Adamus, I actually lucked out in that there was a really awkward shift in the timing in the song. So that's why there's that picture of Sotark's set being popped for timing issues and then mine being nominated right afterwards. While Adamus was qualified, actually, there was quite a bit of critique on the hit sounding of the set. And it piled up to the point where I decided to apply some of the fixes. So I arranged a time for when the nominators, Undead Capulet and Risen, were both available because of our different time zones. And from there, I contacted a QA member to disqualify the set, and then we quickly updated the set and renominated it. I didn't expect it to be finished within a minute, though. That was quite something.
It may not be apparent, but this case also shows just how much more normalized speed ranking has become to players and mappers. In the past, if anyone ranked a huge map set in a day like this and handled disqualification in a similarly rushed way, it would have been scrutinized to death, as is what happened for a speed-ranked Sword Art Online opening from 2014. There is, of course, mention of speed ranking in the comments and the thread, but not in a way that's led to concern, making it an interesting shift from years earlier. Anyway, we're this far in and you're probably wondering about the elephant in the room. What comes to mind immediately when thinking about anime songs? TV size.
I think the reason that TV-sized songs are so prevalent on Osu is because of their song length. And the songs are typically 90 seconds long, which is in line with other rhythm game song lengths, which typically range from 90 seconds to 150 seconds. Additionally, because of their shorter song length, they have more appeal than longer songs. They allow for players to restart the map again without having to waste that much time, which again can be attributed to farmability. However, I feel that as of late, even shorter maps, that I like to call ringtone-sized maps, are becoming even more prevalent because they can be replayed even faster and farmed even faster as a result. And this can be seen in that 2 of the top 5 most popular maps are half of the typical TV size length.
How people view TV-size maps goes beyond 1 minute 30-second farm maps, though. There's a sort of stigma attached to TV-size maps, plus an in-joke among mappers ridiculing simplistic, jumpy maps under the vague umbrella of anime maps, and Doormat is more than familiar with these criticisms.
Since most anime songs aren't very rhythmically complex, people tend to compensate that simplicity by using spacing for intensity indicators. But as a result of so many people using this concept, it's become referred to as a very generic or meta form of mapping. Since they're especially prevalent in anime songs, this type of generic mapping is also referred to as anime mapping. You know, people tend to generalize TV size maps as being generic or to anime as a result of anime maps being very similar to each other in style, but I think that's being a little naive. As I said earlier, it's more of a limitation of the song's rhythm density, so people generally typecast that as anime mapping, but people need to realize that there are also many TV-sized songs that break away from this trend. Even Adamus breaks this perceived mold by featuring a pretty heavy streaming section near the end of the map. It is a bit unfair since all maps should be judged off their own merits instead of being typecast into something that they shouldn't be. So I do think that there's a stigmatization towards the quality of TV-sized maps.
And just like TV-sized maps, anime itself has its own negative public reputation. Some people are immediately turned off by seeing anime artwork, so Osu can be pretty hard to dive into despite housing lots of different music. With Osu being associated with the anime aesthetic for so long now though, it's pretty much become known as an anime game, changing how both the mapper and player bases treat it.
Anime has become such a big part of mainstream media now, especially since it's really accessible outside of Japan. I do think that the heavy presence of anime does affect Osu's growth, but depending on how you look at it, it can be both a positive and a negative. As a positive, the attraction of so many anime songs being on the platform can help entice new players to try out the game. But as a negative, the prominence of the game being dominated by so many anime songs can help drive away players who may feel that anime apps feel too much the same. You know, there are going to be many different effects, but I think one of the benefits of Osu being so anime heavy is that it gives the player base a common thread to have discussions about. It's much easier to connect and bond with a stranger if you share something in common. Granted, this isn't just limited to anime, but with anime having such a large influence on Osu, it's one of the more common threads that people will share as opposed to something that may be more niche. From my perspective, being known as an anime mapper in the community certainly opens up many opportunities for discussion with other mappers. So, you know, every once in a while I'll be asked to make a guest difficulty, or every now and then I'll get a message from a player saying how much they liked one of my anime maps. It's always nice to get those kinds of messages.
So Osu may not have the most wide-sweeping appeal, but as Doormat says, it does appeal to a growing niche. Despite seeming like a silly, irrelevant thing, anime has had its fair share of importance for mapping and to the Osu community as a whole. And, I think Doormat concluded this better than I could, so I'll cut it off here. Thanks to him for working with me, thanks to you for watching, and I'll see you next week.
And then with Adamus, the preview came out, but there was a lot of voiceover over it. So even then, like, the only thing you can really work out is the general idea of what you want to do. Right. Kirito!